Hi dear viewers, this is Arash Kamali with another section of the website programming course on the Python programming language and the Django framework. Again, as always, a very warm and heartfelt welcome from me. If you remember, in the previous session we set up the search section of the site and we wrote a search box so that the searching for the queries will be done through that box. It searches in the post based on the name, the summary, and the main body of the news text. And we got rid of the repetition problem, but still we have one problem to entangle with, and that needs to be solved as well. Okay, the problem is that what we are dealing with in the previous sections, when we taught you the details of pagination, the pagination, as a matter of fact, was based on the data that came from the backend, and it kept being repeated. Now view, which was repeated, were the query data, and it was done with no problems and shown. But now we are dealing with something different. The reason for this difference is here. In the search, we are searching based on the word that we have received and send it to the template. Now when we do the pagination and I go to the second page, then my view won't have access to the word, so that the query is made based on the word. In the text pages, if I want to move in between the pages, I would run into a problem because my query is based on the text. If it goes to the second page based on the get method, then the queries won't work properly. The reason is that there will no longer be any text that is received. The txt won't be sent each time. The first time the name has been searched, now there are so many data and all this data will be shown, so we would have a problem here that needs to be rectified and taken care of in due course. Okay, that's what we're going to do. In order to solve the problem in this part, we need to have the text value in a global or universal variable, a variable that is not dependent on the function, so that when we move through the pages, then it would be still, as a matter of fact, accessible to the resources. What we do is that at first we move the codes and set them as a sub-branch of it. That is, we say if our request equals post like this, when the user, for instance, searches for the letter A, then these queries will be made. Now we want to say else, otherwise when we are moving in the pagination, again I copy this code, but the problem that we need to solve here is that we no longer have the txt, so we need to have saved the txt in a global variable. I go outside the function and do it. I could set it in the function, but it wasn't convenient. After importing the libraries, I define a variable and call it my search, okay, and I equal my search with an empty string. And here, when our txt is received, I say my search equals txt. And if in our pagination we no longer use the post method in our pagination, we use the get method to move between the pages. The txt no longer exists, but now the txt exists in my search as a global variable. My search and my search. Now what I have done is to define a variable called my search outside the functions which is global, that is, it exists in everywhere, it is accessible in this view. Now what I do is I say if my method equals post, that is, someone here had written a value for search other than making the queries, save that in my search. In this way, if there were a large number of data and there was the need for pagination, when the user moves to the second page, then the method will no longer be post. It enters else, and there instead of txt it uses the my search, and we make the queries again. If we don't do this, when data are shown for the first time, if the user goes to the second page, then the empty data will be shown to him, because the second page was based on the get method and there is no txt to receive the query. So what happens is that some empty queries will be made and no posts will be shown. But in this manner, as soon as it enters the pagination and we want to see the other pages, because the txt is not accessible, we use the global variable where the txt has been saved. Thus our problem will be solved completely, and we can use our global variable whenever we want. That is how global variables work outside the function. You can have such a global variable in every view that you desire to have, and in each view that you want, you can use either one or several variables. That's how it works.